In this video, we're going to learn how to perform a rotation on a polygon using a rotational point, an angle, and a direction. To start, look at what they give you in terms of information. So you're going to rotate ABCD around point E clockwise 70 degrees. So that just means you're going to take this figure, rotate it around point, actually should be point G, and it's going to go clockwise. Avoid using terms like left, right, up, or down with clockwise and counterclockwise because that'll change depending on where it is on the clock. Okay, so for example, G is the center of our clock here. If you pretend our, one of my fingers is the arm of the clock. If I'm moving this figure clockwise, it's going to go this way. Okay, and that might be left and down for this side of the clock, but if my figure was over here, clockwise would be up and right. So that will change depending on where your figure is on the clock. So just use terms clockwise and counterclockwise. So this one's going to go clockwise this direction. So it's important to keep in mind. You're going to go 70 degrees. So we're going to use a protractor to measure that 70-degree angle. And we're going to rotate all four of these points. We're going to rotate them individually and then erase in between so we don't get confused with our arcs and lines. So we need to be using a compass, straight edge, and a protractor and an eraser for this transformation. So first, pick a point. I'm going to go with point A. You're going to draw a line segment lightly from the center of rotation to the point we're talking about. And since we're going clockwise, this movement is going this way. You're going to take your protractor and you're going to point it centered on the rotation point and then point it in this direction. If I'm moving in this direction, I want to be able to measure it in this direction. If you point your protractor this direction and you're moving this way, you can't measure this. Okay? So point it downwards towards the bottom of your paper. Center it. And since we're kind of rotating this way and then the protractor's upside down, I'm going to turn my paper around and then really center it. So put it on the center point, place it over the line you just drew, and you're going to mark 70 degrees. Common misconception here is using the wrong number for 70 degrees because there's 70 that appears here and there's a 70 that appears over here. So which one do we actually use? So our angle starts here. Angles start at 0 and not 180. So if it starts at 0, that means you're going to use the top row. So simply follow this until you get to 70 degrees. Once you get to 70 degrees, you're simply going to mark 70 degrees with your pencil. Just a little dash there. Okay. Once you have that dash marked, you're going to take your straight edge and you're going to create another line segment that goes through it, but make it somewhat light so you can erase it later. Now, do your best to make sure you intersect that through the center. I did it okay, but sometimes you might be off by a little bit. The more time you take with measuring or taking your time with lining that up and getting from the center of the dot to there, the more accurate your rotation will be. Now, to find where A prime is going to be on this line, you're going to have to measure with your compass how far away A is from G here. So you're going to take your compass, put it on point G, and go to point A. Do a test little arc to see if it goes to the center. Once you have this, lock it in, tighten down the compass. You're going to go around to this line without drawing an arc and find out where it crosses. And you really just need that point right there where the arc and the line crosses. So I found that intersection point. That's going to be A prime. So we'll name that now A prime. Once you have this point, feel free to go back and erase these lines. Because eventually you're going to have all these lines and arcs drawn, and with multiple points rotating, it gets kind of visually confusing. So it's easier just to erase in between. And now we have this rotated point, A prime. We have 1 point down, we have 3 more to go. Does not matter the order in which you rotate points. I'm going to go to D next. Draw a faint line from D to G. Okay. Again, we're rotating clockwise, so we're going to take this protractor, center it on G. We're going to point it this direction. I'm actually going to turn my paper around again to show you. All right, so we've lined up the line on the protractor for 0 and then centered it on the rotation point. Again, we're starting at 0, so you go up to 0 to 70. Make your mark here. Once you have that mark up here, take it away and simply draw your straight. Use your straight edge to draw a line through that point. Make it faint, and we now know somewhere on this line D prime is going to exist. Take your compass, loosen it up. Measure from B or G to D. Do a test arc. Take your time with this part because this is important. Once you have it, tighten it down. Okay. Go back to the center point. Find out where this crosses the arc and the line. And I have found that it is right there. So I'm going to put a point there. We're going to call that D prime. Once you have this point and named, you're going to erase everything we use for point D prime. Remember, the lighter you draw these lines, the easier it is to erase. Okay, so we have 2 points done. We have 2 more to go. Next one's going to be B. So take our pencil, draw a line segment from B to G, the rotation point. You're going to take your protractor, I'm going to turn paper around, center it on the rotation point, line up the 0 line with the line segment you drew. So take your time lining this up. Once you have this lined up, feel free to keep 2 hands on it so it doesn't move. Start at 0, go to 70 degrees, make another tick mark here, a reference point so you can draw your line segment. I'll draw a line segment from G to the point you just made. And now we've made that 70-degree angle. Take your compass, loosen up and adjust it. You're going to go from G to B. Make sure it's through the center. Tighten it down with the adjustment knob. And then you're going to make an intersection point here. Find out where they intersect. Make a point there. We're going to call that B prime. And then erase all the things you used to find B prime. So we got 3 points, and we have 1 more to do. So we're going to draw from C to G. So from C, the last point, to our rotational point. This is one of the big reasons why we do have you guys erase in between, is that this line here, if they both, one wasn't erased, visually it's going to get very close to each other, so you might be confused in, making a quick decision by using the wrong line, and then your rotation is going to be off. Turn around your paper, line up your center point and your 0-degree mark. Start at 0, go up to 70. Make your reference point, and you're going to draw your line from there to the reference point. Do your best to make it as long as you can, so in case one goes really far out, you don't have to extend the line or anything. Take your compass, readjust it, loosen up the knob, go from all the way from G to C, our furthest point away it looks like. Make sure it goes to the center. That's a little bit further off. So once you have it centered, just snug up the adjustment knob. Go out to this line, find out where they intersect right there. And that's going to be your C prime. Turn around your paper to just avoid drawing your letters upside down. Now, I have 4 points out in space after I'm done erasing all the reference stuff for point C prime. Don't make the mistake of drawing the lines in the wrong order to the wrong point. So for example, it goes A to D to C to B. Okay? Don't go from A to D to B to C, because your shape's not going to look the same, even though you have the correct point. So just go in the same order. Go from A to D, so A prime to D prime. D to C, so D prime to C prime. C to B, so C prime to B prime. And then B to A, B prime to A prime. So your shape should look exactly the same, just rotated. It should be the exact same distance from the rotational point. It shouldn't be further away or closer. It's essentially on the same circle. So if you were to take this compass and draw an arc, let's say from A to A prime, it should fit on that exact same arc. So just a quick test here. If you just adjust it a little bit till it goes to the center. If you were to draw this from A to A prime, it should go right through, and it does. Notice how we keep the same distance. This entirely would be on the circle together. You can do that for A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. If you test them all, you should get all the exact same circles. Okay? Remember to erase in between steps. Take your time with measuring things. The more time you spend on those little steps, the more accurate your final drawing will be.